Make your move, reindeer games.
I haven't seen a camera like that in a long time. That's really awesome.
This is a new one.
It is brand new.
Yeah,
but
it's brand new.
Most people just only do the phones instead of the really good cameras.
No.
I've got a good camera I bring with me to a lot of the locations as well.
Yeah.
And everybody looks at me like I'm an antique because it's a Canon camera that looks like a camera. My name is Steven Scott, and I'm a comic book artist from America.
Hi, I'm Mark Texeira, mostly known for working on Ghost Rider and Wolverine and Sabretooth for Marvel Comics, and occasionally there's a He-Man comic book that I'm sort of known for. But overall, I'm 35 years in the career and 2016, and it's what I do is art.
You're a comic book artist from America. What brings you to Europe?
Yeah, I get to meet new fans. I'm lucky enough to have fans all across the states that I've gotten a chance to meet, and now I've got new fans and family practically here in Europe. It's just a wonderful opportunity to see another take on how people enjoy the pop culture that is, comics. And I found that in all my travels, the fans are just the same. I mean, we really are. We all are very passionate about what it is we love, and we enjoy and appreciate and respect the medium.
We did FAX up in Belgium, and we're going to go to France to do the Anime Con. And in between the stores and friends to visit, and it's quite an adventure.
It's always fun, but it's exhausting because you have to consider that we as comic book artists spend our time in a quiet studio working quietly on our craft. And although we love meeting people and getting out, and especially getting to see other artists where we can talk to them finally, because we're all spread out all across the country and across the countries. We've made friends on the road from people that were in Italy and France. So it is tough, it's exhausting, but we really do love it. I called it peopling. When I have to get out and meet up with people, I'm calling it peopling because it's something I'm not normally doing.
Well, you know what's weird? In the New York convention, I had a guy, I made him wait till the end of the show, and everyone's packing up, and he's the assistant director to the Daredevil series on Netflix. I didn't know I was keeping an important man waiting. And he had let's just say he had money. And not that I take any money, it's all charity. But we made a relationship, and hopefully, I'll get on the set of Daredevil. I don't care what Marvel says. I want to get on that set. Or any set, And because I'm near New York, I can still do that. But it's nice to meet, interesting people. It's not always a fan. You don't know who you're meeting. Sometimes you're meeting, a very rich man who owns or you're meeting just a fan who doesn't have any money, and I go, okay, I'll do a sketch. So it's because I was that kid. I was that 12-year-old kid going, could I get a drawing? My dad hated that I even loved comic books. He was a real hands, builder, So comic books were silliness to him. But you're 10 years old and you're reading about Spider-Man and Gwen dying. You're like, your life's falling apart. And then you realize, that's what you want to do. And then I wanted to know Smiling Stanley, and I lived an hour outside of Manhattan in the Bronx, so it was a 35-cent ride in the summertime to show my portfolio at 14 years old in 8th grade.
You just got in the building and showed them your...
No, I waited on Monday, and then I walked in and I said, I'm here to see somebody who was showing my artwork. But this is 1979. This is, when I was 14. So.
And did they?
No, they laughed. It's nice, I drew it really small. I realized that they drew it much larger, and it was one of the inkers who seems to escape my memory right now. We went for a tour, and we got to see the production staff and where Stanley's office was. And this is early Madison Avenue, 1979, early before 80. It was even
That's a
70s.
real dream come true.
Yeah. As a kid, it was like, but I went on my own. My parents didn't believe I'd ever get work in the industry. And then by 20, I'm in the industry.
For me personally, it was actually learning on my own. I went to college, but they didn't teach comic book art. And it was practicing. It was not something that was very natural to me, and it still isn't to some degree. I mean, it's something that's a learned craft. But I really enjoyed it so much, and I enjoyed doing it enough to where I got better.
Oh, that can't be good.
Oh yeah, George Lucas, Indiana Jones. I got to work on an Indiana Jones project, and it was about the time. It was right before Crystal Skull came out, and it was a story that took place, Tomb of the Gods. It was called, from Dark Horse, before one of the other movies. It was set in 1936, and from the moment I started working on that project, I was having humming in my head at the desk, da 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 da, the whole theme song of Indiana Jones. So for that 4-month period, I was living Indiana Jones. I was really taking it in. It was really an amazing thing when I got to take my kids to go see Crystal Skull, because they'd seen that this is what Daddy had been working on, was Indiana Jones, this character. And it was their first time to get to see the character live in a theater, in the movie. And they really enjoyed the movie.
And then George Lucas bought...
He purchased the cover I did for issue 4, and he purchased all of issue 2 for me. Yeah, it's in George Lucas's collection. And from a good friend of mine, Joseph Lee, from the Family Guy, one of the directors, he said, yeah, George apparently does frame and hang all through Skywalker Studio, all the artwork he buys. He doesn't just... I pictured it being in a warehouse, much as the Ark of the Covenant. My work is he owns it. It's in a warehouse in a crate. No big deal. George Lucas has it in a crate, but somewhere it might be hanging in a bathroom. It may be hanging in a closet. I don't know where, but I really don't care. I think it's kind of exciting to know it's there somewhere.
But that's the pinnacle. What to go after that? George Lucas buys something of you and frames it for...
There's plenty of places to go after that. I mean, heck, I could be the next George Lucas, for crying out loud, one day. You never give up on that.
What were the figures that you drew when you were a kid?
When I showed Marvel, it's weird. I don't even have those pages. But I drew Ghost Rider versus the Hulk in my first. I did 2 pages, little tiny pages, and it was Dan Adkins who toured me through he was an inker up at Marvel, and he showed me what the brush looks like and the size of the page. He gave me a page, and back then John Byrne was doing Iron Fist versus Captain America. It was a really good issue back then. But he showed me the actual pages. I was like, so I was in, it was a whole other world,
Never start with the head. The victim.
Yeah, I did the only adaptation done of the Batman Dark Knight. It was just the bank robbery scene, but it was published with a special edition of Batman Begins that was offered at the time, and it was getting work on the Heath Ledger as Batman, and Christopher Nolan had to approve all that work, had to approve me as the artist on it, and because of him, he really liked the take that I did on it, because I really try to do like what I call a director's beat. I set the panels in a beat and a rhythm until the very end. He got that. He enjoyed that. He said, and he had me also do a cover. I mean, I had an expansion of my work because he really enjoyed what I did.
And do aspiring artists come to you when you're at conventions to show them your work?
Yes, I'm a little nicer these days. I want them to be artists and maybe move them in the right direction. You know, I've beaten up a lot of guys and I go, no, be a little nicer. And, you know, and so I said, you know, I try to give them their strengths more now, you know, instead of saying, you suck. Get out of here. What's wrong with you? No, I say, you know, search for this, you know, draw every day. It's important. We draw every day, 8 hours a day. Even a concert violinist practices 2 to 4 hours a day. And they know what they're doing. So, you know, if you stay professional, you'll always never have that fear of ever attacking you. Because some artists take a week or two off, they go off on vacation, and then they can't go, oh man, I've got to learn how to draw this again, you know, so that's bad.
What was the moment that you realized, yeah, I can do this as a professional?
I thought I always could do it. You don't understand? I'm an 8-year-old kid. I'm like, get out of here. This is easy. And then I learned, and it was tough. And then I met Rich Buckler. He looked at my backgrounds and stuff. He goes, hey, I can use a helper on my books. Can you do it? I said, sure I could. So he paid me $5 a week, but it was enough to get the bus back and forth and draw in the background. And then ink, and then learn how to draw figures, and then learn how to tell stories, and learn how to design the panels, and, you know, all the stuff that you have to learn. And how to do it on time. And
Could you give us some insight into the process? You get a script. What
Yes.
happens then?
well, you beg a lot to the editor, and then he says yes. And then you get a script, and you're happy to get one if you ever get one. And now you're on the clock. You have to, nowadays, with the internet, you have 24 hours to turn around some kind of sketch. You know, most artists in the old days go, I go on vacation. I got a job, I'm good. They're going off for a month, and then they turn into work eventually. But no, you have to look at the layouts, and then just draw a quick, you know, and reinterpret even whether it's a cover. I get a cover within 24 hours. I'm doing a loose drawing, very loose, just to show them the gesture. I go, okay, we see a tighter version. And then the next day I do the tighter version. But you scan it, you have to send it through email. I mean, in the old days, you had to mail it. Imagine mailing it.
Yeah.
A month later, you might get a reaction. So yeah. So now, you know, it's much easier, much faster, which worries me because there's still on paper. I don't do computer art. I want to, but I don't want to because a lot of my friends who do it are afraid of drawing because it's easier to erase the tools. But when you actually do a drawing, it's challenging, and you know. So I want to keep that same institution that. Again, you know, the early European artists kept, you know, because you leave something behind as history. And I'm afraid one big bolt of energy is going to wipe out half the art in the North era. So, you know, it's about finding tradition and staying with it.
When you get the script, do you get creative freedom? Are you the director, or are you the second director?
No, you try not to ask questions. The minute you ask questions to the director, he's directing you. I learned that over. So as soon as I get the script, I just draw the drawing, and I said, here are my submissions. And they go, oh, okay, could you do this, a little that? And other than that, it's beautiful. But if you start asking questions, oh, we'll get back to you on that. And then after all that, they go, you're late on the script. What's wrong with you? So yeah, you have to sort of decide, you know, which works best. And sometimes, you know, telling a safe story, you can go, the camera can stay far away. But if you want intensity, you need to get right up to the camera. You know, and then deciding which shots you have to relax the camera and then pull the tension back. Because if there's always tension, then it's boring. So there's an interesting balance, you know.
your thoughts about the Marvel movies and the DC superhero
Ah,
movies?
they're great. We in the 70s, we watched drawings move across the screen and going pow, zam, like terrible. And I love those. So this is even better. Civil War. I think the second first Iron Man, the second Captain America, one with Robert Redford. Ha, shoot, what a good movie. So then, yeah, the first Marvel's movie, you Hulk smash, just genius stuff. We'll do some shawarma. You want to do some shawarma? Well, you gotta, that's the whole thing. You gotta watch the movies, okay? I'm not going there.
But how cool is it to see your name on the silver screen?
Ah, dude!
Did you know it?
I didn't even know. I was sitting home going, nah, whatever. Life sucks. Bling! Hey, you're in the movies. What? I was, always amazed to be part of the industry. My parents, they grew up in the McCarthy era of comics, which I don't know if you guys know about, but comics were a bad thing. And then they had to stamp the comic code, and that's what we grew up in the 70s. We didn't know that there was a comic book era before the comic code. So when we grew up, we're enjoying the books, but then as I got older, I got to see Vampirella and House of Mysteries and all the EC books, all the juicy stuff. When I was growing up in the 70s, it was kind of creepy to draw. You were weird, and now you're a star. You're like, oh, you draw comics? Really? I'm like, well, we were still the same people 20 years ago. It's just, so it's fun to get recognition, yeah.
Last question. What are you reading right now?
I am normally reading my latest script from my editor that's being sent my way. The last thing I read was Independence Day.
I love flipping through a good book, especially these European graphic. Oh my God. I think I picked up 10 the last week. And, Sepieri, Milo Manara, Mobius, my God. Jean Girard and Blueberry. I have some of those books also.
What I really do enjoy right now are the Criminal. It's called Criminal from Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. Essentially anything Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips do, I pick up now. I follow them.